Reginald here. In this video, I will explain the best build for the Phosphor Blast Pistol. It's easily the coolest and one of the best weapons on skitarii, but nobody so far is truly sure what's best on it, and I hope to help with that. Now I know that title is a bit clickbaity, but I actually have two great ways to build this weapon for you to choose from. And I hate wasting your time, so I will post them in just a second, but please do me a favor and actually watch the video. I am going to actually show you why each one is good and why the other choices are bad properly so that you can understand why you want to pick each build. Also, subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Here are the top two choices for building your Phosphor Blast Pistol. Keynotes. In case you didn't know, the Phosphor Blast Pistol has a few unique traits. It has a higher than average base crit chance. Furthermore, it applies a unique damage over time effect, Phosphor, that deals a piddly 20 base damage per tick, but lasts for 20 whole seconds. And while it's active on an enemy, it reduces hit mass by 45% and applies a unique 15% brittleness effect on armored or monstrosity enemies. These are both very useful. Perks. Let's get into a discussion on perk choices. My top picks for perks on this weapon are Unyielding and Something. The list of options for the Something category are kind of up to preference. They are Crit Chance, Elites, Maniacs, and Flak. Unyielding seems pretty worth it because one of the most dangerous enemies in the game for high difficulty content is Reapers, and it definitely improves the breakpoint in Havoc 40 by one full shot, and that's a lot. Also, the boss damage isn't bad, so a little extra doesn't hurt since you're probably going to be mag dumping the boss at least once in any given fight unless you're starting to get low on ammo. The rest I do think are a toss-up. You can make an argument for dropping Unyielding too. I did test out Specialists in Havoc 40 and it offered no special breakpoint gains, so I have ditched that from my weapons and guides. I do feel Elites could be good even if it doesn't hit any breakpoints, because not every enemy has to be fully killed by you. If you wound it enough, someone else might get over the line on their breakpoint instead. Maniacs and Flak both help with Specialists and various Elites, so solid choices on that. Crit Chance should be taken specifically if you are running a Manstopper in my view, but it's debatable on whether or not it's actually worth it. Blessings. Let me just list the ones that I know are obviously not good and didn't require my attention. Glory Hunter. There is no point to this. Pinpoint Targeting is inferior to Opening Salvo, and so has been discarded due to its longer time for the same values. Then there's the ones which are interesting, and I did test them. Showstopper. This one is sadly just really bad. I tried it on stream and it does 79 damage in a small radius and only triggers when the burn dot kills a guy, which is just not happening at any serious pace or frequency. Hand Cannon. I did try out this blessing with plus Carapace and it did not impress for any targets. Do not take this. That left me with a few variations on a few blessings, and I gave them all a go. The list of top contenders was Powderburn with Opening Salvo, Surgical with Manstopper, the Neo-Needle pistol concept with Crucian, Roulette, and Infernus, and the stable sniping platform of Opening Salvo and Surgical. I did testing on Powderburn to see if I could get a meaningful suppression breakpoint. Maybe it's good against Reapers. And maybe there is against Reapers. It was not easy to tell. It didn't really matter for gunners, but the duration and condition required to get a kill at close-ish range to benefit doesn't really give me much enthusiasm for this setup, and the gun seems to have enough suppression without it to be useful, so that goes in the bin. Opening Salvo and Surgical actually did feel incredibly good if you place your shots so you get a salvo reset. You save about one shot into Reaper heads on typical, and you can pretty consistently get one tap on a Trapper head. If not always, in general, it hits really hard and is nice feeling. It just turns this weapon into a solid, reliable hand cannon, and I think this could benefit actually from going with the Maniacs and Flaks perks and just always popping heads on key targets, even though I do hate Reapers. Also worth noting that in Havoc, the plus strength adds cleave to the shots, though I haven't been able to find any breakpoints that this provides. Probably still useful for niche scenarios when trying to pick out a Trapper through a horde. Definitely a top pick. This one was the most exciting to me as an interesting and unique interaction concept. So I tested out Crucian Roulette with Infernus. The idea here is really neat. I like it. It's inventive. It leverages stuff from the tree to boost damage. I tried it on my default Alpha Primus build, and I also tried it on a more min-maxy build with lots of status effect-based damage boosts to try and juice it as much as I could. The idea here is to use the Servo Skull to maintain Infernus stacks at 15 to 16, depending on what the game lets you get away with at any given point, and the result is pretty decent in Oryx, actually. It competes decently with the Needle Pistol, which is a way to get free damage on bosses without having to be involved, which is not bad. But the problem is when I took this to Havoc, I realized it's running into the usual DPS problem that many builds run into for bosses in Havoc. A lot of burst damage that looks good on paper in Auric Psychonium tests just falls right off in Havoc when the health pools are big enough to bring down the averages. The reality of the damage output of this weapon is mostly coming from the shots, and then the burn is pretty slow. So the real DPS in Havoc appears to be something like 500 boss DPS from the burn and Servo Skull. An Auric Plague Ogre has 60,000 HP, and a Havoc 40 Plague Ogre has 102,000 HP. So despite my high hopes, this is actually nothing. Compared to the Needle Pistol, you're actually looking at about half the DPS in bosses. And it's worth remembering that the Needle Pistol's Chem Toxin actually got nerfed recently to be more reasonable, and yet this is barely better than half the nerfed Needle Pistol DPS into bosses. If I sit here and let it tick, it takes fully 102 seconds for it to burn down, including refreshing the brittleness from the Phosphor Pistol, and the Artificer Servo Skull's damage output always locked in. Not only that, but it didn't significantly improve my breakpoints into Reapers or really any other target. Crucian requires you to spend like 3 ammo before you start getting realistic crit chance, so if you hit a Reaper a few times, you can get it to burn to death in about 3 shots from the half a meg starting point, or you could just shoot it one more time and it'll just fucking die. I personally can see value in this build approach for the weapon if we are doing an Auric 3 Veg Maelstrom or maybe Heresy games or below, where it's honestly pretty nice, but for the Havoc meta, I would definitely skip this. Keep in mind, we are talking about a class where I can just rip a boss's face off in like 22 to 26 seconds, give or take. Which leads me to my preferred choice up until now, that I have always been crazy enough to take, which is Surgical and Manstopper. There are some breakpoint downsides to this build over opening Salvo, so I think you should be cognizant of that fact. But a lot of people don't know how Manstopper works. On crit, you don't just get like more cleave, you get infinite cleave. Let me show you again the unrealistic scenario for what this can do at its peak. Then let me show you the realistic scenario for what this can do. Unrealistic, but cool as hell. Now for the realistic scenario. Let's say you're buried in a mob of poxwalkers and oncoming ragers and shotgunners, and there's a trapper at the back of all that shit, and you cannot see it clearly, nor get a clean shot off into it. But as you back up and get your 6 to 7 surgical stacks, you make a gamble that your very, very high crit chance will net you a solid hit or 2. And she's dead. And everyone in the way is actually wounded badly and burning from phosphax and debuffed by the phosphor stack. To me, this is the ideal use case of this weapon. I have a pocket railgun that I can use to blow up specialists. I can easily guarantee a crit and fire down a hallway for big damage, massive debuff spread, and I can debuff bosses and crusher mobs and even blast through a bunch of dense maulers or whatever. It's a high damage multi-tool with a lot of value in this configuration, quick draw, blows up specialists, it's great. So again, these two builds are the best options in my view, with all the caveats I listed above for perks. Outro. I know a lot of you guys are waiting on my formal build guides for weapons. I am looking forward to getting to that, but my original plan of just doing a joint video for each one only made sense when we didn't know that much about them. We now have mods. I can actually provide you with a real detailed quality content, and not just my best guess. I will probably still do all the weapons in one video, but consider these short summary videos I've been doing as sort of like research papers for future guides. Anyway, I hope this has helped you, and in your quest to annihilate heretics. Have a wonderful day. Warm regards, Reginald. I would like to take a moment and provide a special thank you to my members who have been supporting me for a very long time now. Thank you all so much. It means a lot to me personally and has meant a big deal to this channel. I would especially like to call out certain key members who've been supporting the channel. Lyric Scroll, thank you very much. Your support has been tremendous and it is absolutely appreciated. Monolith, for your continued long-term support. Novinitus and Mylater, also very much appreciated. Fluff, Ebony, Champsor, you've all helped me a bunch. A special shout out to Vinny, who always comes by and supports my streams, and to all of you who have supported my streams in the past as well, thank you. And with that, I will simply say thank you all so much for visiting. Goodbye.